14,058. What those in their 40s, starting over, must know. Question. As a Hongik Ingan humanitarian standing at the starting line of my 40s, I would like to ask about the future direction for restarting my social activities. Respected Master, I got married at the age of 30 and 3 years later, through a spiritual awakening divine manifestation, I encountered the study of Yungbub the True Law, and have now entered my 40s. After starting my Yungbub studies, I engaged in social learning, but my career came to an end at the 3-year mark. Although I wished to continue my social activities, I kept encountering environments that required me to further refine and equip myself. Only now, through your Master's teachings of truth, am I beginning to feel gratitude for the qualities I have developed and to understand the environment I have created, thus feeling thankful for the life given to me. I bow my head and convey my deepest gratitude to you, Master. Master, as I correct the complaints and wrongs I once committed, I can now feel that my current environment is excellent for studying. This year, starting from attending your Dharma lectures to practicing Hongik Taekwondo, an environment where I can gradually resume activities is opening up. At this moment of restarting my social activities, I would like to ask for your correct guidance on what kind of activities intellectuals in their 40s can perform to move forward joyfully and without greed. Thank you.
How we conduct our social activities from now on must begin from a turning point. Our most urgent matter right now is achieving zero suicide in the Republic of Korea. To start this project of zero suicide in South Korea, all of us must step forward as social parents. For those who will properly engage in activities as social parents between now and the year 2030, I am not telling you to perform some grand action right this second. We need to register as social parents and begin preparing from this moment onward. Therefore, after 2030, anyone feels they have nothing to do in society or does not know how to engage in activities, they can simply active within the framework of social parents. What do social parents do? They are people who research this society. Every single person in our nation possesses their own unique talent. Each person must begin conducting research that aligns with their specific talent. While doing this research, we carry out our activities right there. As social parents, do you commute to an office? No. We gather voluntarily within our local communities to share our studies and conduct research, and we also work from home through networks. By doing so, the things we research for the sake of human society must manifest as beneficial content that serves humanity. We must engage in the kind of social activity where our path to making a living naturally opens up as we benefit human society. In the future, when the era of robots arrives, the era of repetitive manual labor will come to an end. Such tasks must all be handed over to robots. We must not become people who perform that kind of labor. Instead, we must now undergo a rebirth from being mere human beings Ingan to becoming true persons Saram, shifting toward activities where people live for the sake of other people, for the sake of society, and for the sake of humanity. As we do this, because we are starting here in South Korea with our social parents, all the social education that the world needs will emerge from the research activities these social parents conduct from now on. Humanity has never received social education. We too have never received social education. I am saying that we have never been educated. If we didn't receive education, then what did we receive? We equipped ourselves with knowledge. We did not receive education. Acquiring knowledge is a process of equipping oneself. It cannot be called education. While it is true that teachers helped us equip ourselves with knowledge when we absorbed it, we have never received true education. Education is not about acquiring knowledge. True education refers to social education. Does the term knowledge education make sense? No, it does not. For something to be called education, the term must fall perfectly into place. The front and back must align. It is a social education. Because we haven't received social education, we do not know how to live properly in society. And because we do not know how to live properly in society, everyone becomes stifled, frustrated, and exhausted as we live our lives as members of society. This is because we haven't received social education. Currently, the study of Yungbub is providing you with social education. When you ask this person, the master, why your life is difficult, I untangle it for you by showing that your difficulties arise because you haven't lived properly in society. This is what is being taught through Yungbub. Yungbub is the kind of education where your very foundation changes just by listening to it. It is true education because your foundation transforms simply by listening. As you transform, how should you carry out your next activities? If you are transforming, this entire society will find a need for you. We must conduct that kind of social work. Is it a social enterprise? No. In society, one must perform social work. What is at work business is Saab. Benefiting people is what constitutes true work. If it is within society, it means benefiting our society. If it is in the international community, it means benefiting the international community. These kinds of activities are what we call social work. Therefore, it is impossible for us to get by without receiving social education. What happens if we do not receive social education? When we encounter a person through a relationship, we do not know how to treat them. Among the many experiences people have, if I break it down for you now, you met someone to live as a married couple, but because you didn't know how to live together, after living for several years or decades, life became suffocating, exhausting, and difficult, leading to hospital visits and turning out this way. How can a relationship become suffocating after you have met? Why does it become difficult? It becomes difficult because you do not know what is right, and you are not living correctly. When a married couple or friends meet, how can bad things happen? Why should they end up sulking and turning their backs on each other? When people meet, how can such things happen? When you meet a person, your strength should double, and your life should improve. But today, people have children, and end up turning their backs on them later. We enter a workplace, and end up complaining and grumbling about it. How can such things happen? In this eastern nation of South Korea, where the descendants of Heaven Cheonsun and the leaders of Hongik Ingan live, how can these things happen right now? It is because we have not received education. To break down the stages so you can understand education a bit better, we went to school to study. We went there to study, and we acquired knowledge there. Who taught us there? Teachers taught us. Knowledge is taught by teachers. In all schools, all the way up to universities, even if they are called professors or doctors, they are all ultimately teachers. It is just a matter of some teachers having a slightly higher quality of knowledge and others having a lower quality. They are all teachers. Why? Anyone who handles knowledge and teaches knowledge is a teacher. Then, after equipping ourselves with that knowledge, where do we go? We come out into society. Once we come out into society, who must we meet? We must meet a mentor. In society, you do not meet teachers, you meet mentors. Why? Because coming out into society means meeting mentors who approached and lived in society ahead of us. While we meet teachers at school, when we are acquiring knowledge, once we have fully equipped ourselves with knowledge and step out into society, we meet mentors. By meeting mentors and growing correctly, we become true members of society. As we become members of society, there is an even higher stage above that. We grow while studying society. So when we start a business or approach society, we begin in order to become a CEO, a chairman, or something of that nature. When this happens, who must we meet at this time? A mentor alone will not suffice. At this time, you must meet a strategist Cheksa. Therefore, we have teachers, then mentors, then strategists, and finally, masters Sosung. Then when do you meet a strategist? You meet a strategist when you are running a business and attempting to become a societal leader. What is the difference between a strategist and a mentor? A mentor is someone who knows society well and coaches you on it. A strategist is different. They possess a form of spiritual or specialized power, one ryok, and must hold an extraordinary level of skill. These are people who wield the power of nature. In a manner of speaking, these people are called disciples. Disciples of society, disciples of certain organizations. There are many kinds of disciples: monks, Taoist masters, and people of that nature. These are the individuals who perform spiritual disciplines in order to serve as strategists. Then what does a strategist do? Since these people are trying to become leaders, the strategist observes whether they are compatible with the person, and then serves them as their Lord Jugun. The role of the strategist is to serve their Lord and build them up. What does that mean? It means they meet an entrepreneur and grow that enterprise, or they meet national leaders and build those leaders up. Because these kinds of tasks cannot be achieved through ordinary strength, one must possess spiritual specialized power, one ryok. What is considered this power? Some people can look at a person and immediately foretell things about them. What people call fortune telling or reading physiognomy. They just know about that person. Some possess the ability to see beneath the earth, the ability to read the heavens, the ability to read nature, or the ability to see whether this person and that person are a good match or not. Strategists possess all kinds of unique abilities. Because I am a perfect match with my Lord, I pour out all my abilities to build this Lord up. This is a strategist. Then, how did they build up the Lord? Anything that becomes an enemy to this Lord is completely destroyed. To build up the Lord, the strategist cuts off the very roots of anything that approaches and poses an adversarial threat. Hearing it described this way might sound strange, but what have we learned within the knowledge of our history? Everyone knows Zhuge Liang, right? There is Zhuge Liang, and there is Liu Bei. Liu Bei wanted to become a leader, but he had nothing. However, Zhuge Liang saw that Liu Bei possessed the character and temperament worthy of a leader. Therefore, Zhuge Liang took him as his lord and poured out all his own abilities to build him up. In doing so, they created a great force and established a nation. Any enemy that stood in front of Liu Bei was completely eliminated. You either became an ally or you were cut off. That is how they built up the lord and raised a nation. Zhuge Liang spent his entire life fulfilling his duty as a strategist, using that kind of capability and power. But did Liu Bei continue to lead the nation well until the end? It ruined. They established and grew the nation, but it failed. Why did it fail? A strategist can build someone up, but for that leader to act, guide the people well, and achieve a success that truly shines, they must meet a master Sosong. Instead, Zhuge Liang stayed attached to the very end, fighting alongside him, and ultimately, it ruined. There are distinct stages. As we grow, there are times when we must meet a teacher, times when we must meet a mentor, times when we must meet a strategist, and times when we must meet a master. Today, what time is it for us? Who must we meet? It is a time when we must meet a master. This society has already completed everything that could be achieved through strategists. Everyone who was meant to rise has already risen, and the rest of the people are currently living hand in hand beneath those who have risen. Then, who are the people who have risen? They are the representatives of this country and the people who hold all of this nation's energy. The people through whom enterprises have risen are those who hold all the energy of our citizens. If these individuals fail to open their wisdom and do not live for the sake of the citizens and this society, it means we have misallocated that power. All the power that should have been given to us was given to them instead. Those are the representatives and chairmen of corporations, the heads of organizations, and the leaders and heads of the nation. Because all power was concentrated there, we only held basic power and lacked great strength. Because this state of lacking strength has been dragged out for too long, even what we had has been depleted, and that is why we are currently struggling. Then, what should we do? This society has classifications. There is an upper class, a middle class, and a lower class. Calling it a lower class does not mean it is bad. There are levels, and you must perform activities that match your level. This is not a society where things work out by forcing them. If you perform your activities well according to your level, your life will never become difficult. Therefore, you must know very well where your current level is. You must also know whether you are someone currently at the 3rd level, but capable of moving to the 2nd level. You need to understand clearly whether you are supposed to be living at the 2nd level, but are currently stuck at the 3rd, whether you were originally a 3rd level person, or whether you have dropped down to the 4th level. If you have dropped down, you must know what you need to do to rise back up. Why? Because things are designed to go well for you only when you occupy your proper place. This is what the saying "know thyself" means. You must first grasp your own condition. I am supposed to be living at the honest or 2nd level. So why is my situation like this? It is because you did something wrong and dropped down a level. From then on, things become a bit difficult. When you were up above, it wasn't hard, but being down here makes things a bit tough. If you just complain and blame others because it's hard, as time passes, you will drop even further. When we are in the upper class, minor hardships do not occur. If difficulty comes, it comes as a major one. Next, when you drop down to the level below it, you enter a somewhat diverse and complex society. The people who were in the upper class have not studied this diverse and complex society. They haven't, but when they first arrive here, it feels good. Why? Because when a person from the upper class comes down to the middle class, the 2nd level, the people of the 2nd level, who always wish to reach the upper class, treat the person from the upper class exceptionally well. Because they treat them so well, that person shrugs their shoulders with pride. But later on, when all sorts of messy societal realities start hitting them, they fail to resolve them. As a result, they end up dropping even further down to the 3rd level. Why did they come from the honest level to the 2nd level in the first place? It is because they failed to fulfill their duty at the honest level, became ostracized, and came down. Yet, when they arrive at the 2nd level, people don't ostracize them, they welcome them. If they were to harmonize well with the people there, receive their strength, and use that force to rise back up to the honest level, it would be fine. However, they simply bask in receiving hospitality, and after a short while, people realize their appearance is fine, but looking closely, they aren't all that. Once this happens, they get ostracized here as well, and move down to the 3rd level. South Korea is an incredibly fascinating society that operates without an error of even 0.1. But we are living our lives without knowing this. You must do your work in your own position. Even if you drop down to the 3rd level, if you recognize that there is still work for you to do within that 3rd level and put in just a bit of effort, your energy will revive and you will move right up to the 2nd level. If a person does not do their proper work in their given position, there is no one in this world who will like them. You must find the work you are supposed to do. Furthermore, Even if you are at the 3rd level, be thankful and grateful that there are people here who welcome you. Even if you are at the 20th level, be grateful that they accept you here. If you are deeply grateful, remain humble, and show just a little bit of appreciation, strength will gather around you from all sides. If you take that strength and rise to the honest level, you can no longer drop from there. These are the kinds of principles we should have known when receiving social education. We must know the laws by which human beings Ingan live, and the laws by which true persons Saram live. All of our Hongik Ingans have grown up and become persons, yet they are not acting the way a true person should, and are still behaving like mere human beings. They live like animals, living just to eat and survive, and that is why the entire nation of South Korea is facing difficulties. No matter what position you are in, do not complain. Nature has not granted you the right to complain or grumble. You become difficult because you complain, and you are becoming as difficult as the amount of complaining you do. No matter what kind of environment we are given, we are the descendants of heaven who are meant to accept it with gratitude and grow if we put in our effort there. We possess all of that power. Live your life moving forward as a person who researches and puts in effort from your own position. Understand this.